All right, so I recommended a film for us called The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover by
Indeed.
Peter Greenaway, made in
Race.
1989.
All right then.
All right,
Uh,
Jacob, go ahead.
All right. The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover. Yeah. I mean, just to start off, I don't even know where to start. Like, one of the most intense films I've ever seen. Like, I was kind of on the edge of my seat the whole time. The pacing is fantastic. Michael Gambon as the thief is, I mean, incredible. Great performance. Actually, all the performances are great. I mean, but his performance especially stands out to me. Yeah, the art direction, production design is just insane, amazing. I don't know. I don't have like much, I guess, in depth to say, but it was just an insane, amazing experience. Yeah.
All right, Seth.
Well, I wanted to say it for a while. I knew I was gonna love it because it's like it seemed like something I'd love, and like I saw some snippets of the art direction, and I was like, oh my god. So I watched it, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ! I didn't realize how surreal it would be. Like I wasn't really expecting it to be a mind fuck, but in like the best way possible. You know what I mean? It was like I don't know, like the art direction. It's peak art direction in my opinion. It was like I can't really think of a flaw within the design, and like the performances too was so good. The plot itself is so ambitious as well. It's like I don't know. There's nothing really like it, you know. And it's like the way that like every time they change room, they change clothes as well to fit the color. That was insane.
Yeah.
That was peak ambition. It was like I don't know, man. It was something about it. It's fucking crazy. It's also like peak British cinema as well. Greenaway has a way with visuals like nobody else. I fucking loved it.
All right, Rom, what do you think of your own wreck?
Get ready for a few food puns. Sorry about it. But
man.
in all seriousness, though, like this is a great film. In terms of its goals, I think it's very focused on telling a non-traditional story entirely through like the visuals. And the sentiment that I took from it was that there's an emphasis on making the viewer feel full, whether it's in terms of like the visuals or the very obviously filled, settings and set design with the props and like the amount of facade it carries. Like it's almost as if it's its own Renaissance painting. And you can really feel Greenaway flexing his like artistic background and fully using it. Because I think he was for a long time like a painter. And he was.
I wonder if he also directed a stage play or something on the stage.
It does feel very stagey as well.
Yeah,
it has that.
It is clearly like a stage play like film. A lot of it kind of reminded me of Autumn Sonata in that way, just in that way.
Yeah.
They're very different films. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like I think the stage play quality of both films, it just kind of like I was just like, this kind of reminds me of Autumn Sonata in that way. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. Yeah, and I never found it to be overbearing in that sense either. Also don't think it's a stretch to imply that, like, as Seth mentioned, every single color was, used precisely to tell the story. For example, like early on in the film, when Georgina is eating asparagus while looking at her soon-to-be lover, I felt like it was a foreshadowing of like what was to come essentially. Like when they later on had that scene in the jungle with various amounts of green around them, when they're reflecting and reconnecting on their lives and relationships. And I really love that, like just that attention to detail in the setting. It's very important. I never felt like there was an empty space in the visuals or the dialogue. The dialogue, wow, it's it's quite fulfilling, and it's such a feast, and it's very fantastical, and it's like very over the top in all the right ways. Michael Gambon is quite literally eating up, everything in his path and chewing every single scene, at least for me. It gets to the point where all these insults and long monologues that he has, it gets to the point where paints his character as like the world's biggest asshole. You still understand him, and there's still like some sort of nuance to it where it doesn't seem entirely one-dimensional, at least for me. And it also made the ending more satisfying in that way. Yeah, there's just so much to talk about, even with like the Thatcherism metaphor, but I'm not going to get into that because I'm not really qualified, but
we'll get there.
Yeah. It has so much to say about art itself as well. There's just so much to digest. It's great, engrossing, and I loved it.
Okay. Yeah, Bob, what do you think of the movie?
Yo, okay, so it's like the most cinematic stage play ever made. Like the way everything is like decorated and colored, and the sets, the way the camera moves from like one room to another, not just like from one set to another, but like in scenes, like between characters, like feels like both so alive and so static at the same time. And there's like all sorts of like little details in the production design that make it so special. The acting is all like absolutely flawless, like, and the characters are like written perfectly to like I don't want to say like build off of each other, but like something similar. And like there's always something interesting on screen, like whether it be the interactions between the characters or just like the amazing background or like something visual that's going on. And yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing, like piece.
Nice. Bird.
Okay. Well, I hearing all your guys' like praise for it, I am 100% understanding of it, and I gotta say I did find myself loving quite a huge part of this movie. There's a great I hate to take from Vinny what he said about Dawn of the Dead, but there's a great hour to 45-minute, hour and a half movie in here somewhere. But I think that it kind of overstays its welcome in a way. I think that the middle gets a little bit repetitive. It's kind of like there's like Gambon's being an asshole, and then she stares at the lover, and then they go have sex, and then Gambon's being an asshole, she stares at the lover, then they go have sex. Like, it kind of does that for a solid like half hour, 45 minutes with a couple of different things here and there, but it's kind of just the same thing, I feel like, and it just got a little bit not boring, but a little uninvesting because nothing new was going on. And then the third act kicked in, and I was a little bit more on board. I definitely got more into it, even though I kind of found some of it to be a little bit over the top and I don't know about cheesy, but very over the top and kind of just a little stupid. But I do understand that it is a stage play like film, so I kind of looked at the film from that perspective, like that play to the back of the room, chew the scenery type acting. And about Gambon's performance, it is great until a point where it kind of overstays its welcome. I think his performance genuinely became, he kind of became like nails on a chalkboard eventually, because he just had so many monologues where I was just like, oh man, I was so in for it in the first hour and 20 minutes, and then after that I was kind of like, oh, come on. Please don't let this all just be his character, just monologue, be an asshole monologue. And that's sadly kind of what he was. I don't see I'm glad you guys were able to see this other side of him that had depth. I didn't see it. I saw him as just a one-dimensional asshole with a lot of monologues and a lot of like theatrics. There wasn't really much about him that struck me as well developed. That's the point of his
character, though.
I understand that, but there's only so long I can take that before I either want him to do something different or I want him out of the movie. Like, seriously, I was seriously on board with his thing up until like the hour and a half or hour 20-minute mark, because then I realized, oh my god, this is all he's been doing, and I kind of wanted a little bit more out of that, and that kind of sucked. But aside from my quite a handful of gripes, I still do find this movie to be quite the technical achievement. It is beautiful. It is incredibly well shot. I love the long takes. And actually, funny enough, I enjoyed the cronies of Gambon quite a lot more than Gambon by the end of the film, at least a little bit. I kind of enjoyed Tim Roth as like the slimy sort of yes man. I liked Corey, even though he wasn't really in the film very long. I kind of liked the henchmen and everyone that surrounded Gambon more than I liked Gambon, but that was like towards the end of the film. But in the beginning, I was full on for Gambon. It just got a little bit too much. Just a little too much for me to handle personally. And I know that I'm definitely not. I'm definitely kind of. I'm not alone, actually. I do have a friend of mine who actually finds him totally unbearable, and the movie totally unbearable. I don't agree entirely. I don't think this movie's unbearable, but I do see why why he thinks that. And you know, it all is just personal preference for what I wanted out of the character. But I know that that's not the point of the film. But just because of how much I was able to take from the character, there just came a point where I just wanted something else to happen. And it wasn't until the final like 15 minutes when his character was finally doing something new where I actually started to get more into his character. But it was all that like 30-minute section in the film where it kind of stagnated for me. But that's really all I got to say for now. It is still a pretty good film, pretty great film actually. That's all. Vinny.
All right. So yeah, this movie was exhausting in a really good way to me. My first reaction was after finishing it was, of course, this is one of Ari Aster's favorite films because I could tell he took a lot of not inspiration in terms of like the way his character. I think Ari Aster probably does characters a lot more in terms of complexity, but I think what makes this movie work is the simplicity of the characters a lot, and how it's very not to the point of them being caricatures, but to the point that they basically have the visuals and the filmmaking essentially expand on their characters and tell the story for them. The movie's very operatic. I love the music, especially that one theme by Michael Nyman, the Fish Beach, that's played during a lot of the sequences with just Michael and Georgina when they're together. Mm-hmm. It's a very beautiful theme that I think really connected with me and emotionally affected me personally. I think overall the movie, it just has so much visual eye candy that if it was a film that didn't have as much going for it in terms of its visuals and its audio, like the form of the movie is what really elevates this movie. Like I think some people could possibly call it like style over substance, but this is a true instance of the style sort of functioning as the substance of the story, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. That's
pretty much
kind of like what a stage play is in my eyes sometimes.
I totally agree with that. The style over it's not style over substance. The style is the substance in the best way possible. Yeah. It literally, the style forms the substance, and it's so fucking clever. It's easily the best part of the movie for me. Like just the overall style and the movements of the camera.
Anyway.
Another thing that I forgot to mention actually was it's one of the few movies that I've seen that's rated NC-17 that actively like let me try and explain it. It's sort of
makes use of its NC-17.
It makes use of its NC-17 rating without feeling gratuitous, you know? Because I feel like there's so many films that like get that sort of like try really hard to be over the top and like vile and disgusting and not really having a point to it. And this movie isn't really one of those. I think there's a lot of purpose to it.
One thing I really loved about this film, and that I actually kind of noticed right away, obviously, is with its stage play design, it also just has amazing production behind it. The sets just look gorgeous. It looks like they put so much effort into it. Like I've been watching quite a few films lately that have been like set design porn. And it's like this movie is a perfect example of that, because I watched Playtime. That movie is a great example. Mon Oncle, both by Jacques Tati. Those movies are very are not carried, but definitely they're much better because their set design is so unique. And I think this movie is the same thing. If the restaurant set looked boring, I would not have as much to chew on in terms of visuals. But since there's just so much color and so much vibrance in everything in the background, I was really able to stick it out when I wasn't as invested as I was in the first hour, if that makes sense.
One of the best things about it was the how they showed how the different days they showed it through the menu, like the special menu, Like, of a
I
restaurant.
like that too.
That was so clever. And then by the end of the film, when it hit the end of the week, and it was like closed for a special occasion, it was just like a blank piece of paper. And then, but the day before, when everything was going down, it was like moldy fish and shit. That was so clever.
It's so minor that most films wouldn't consider it. They would just use it as a title card.
Exactly. It's kind of inspired by the Red Shoes in that sense, because that's what I don't want to spoil the Red Shoes, but it does something.
This movie actually reminded me a lot. This movie reminded me a lot of the Red Shoes, especially with its use of the color red. I found myself very calling back quite a lot to the Red Shoes, which is a fantastic movie pretty fantastic movie, by the way. I love that movie. But I think that this one really does take that sort of inspiration, not only just from the Red Shoes, but I think maybe Powell and Pressburger's visual style as a whole. Because I was also reminded quite a bit of Black Narcissus sometimes while watching this. Another thing that I really connected to in terms of visuals was that I think it was towards the end that, like, if you notice, I don't know if I was the only one who noticed this, but like at the ending, which of course is so fucking like holy shit, but like the ending, you kind of notice that all the colors of the film kind of are in this scene. You know what I mean? Because in every scene, it seems that like every color is on its own. Each scene, like the bathroom scenes are predominantly white. The outside scenes are predominantly blue. The kitchen scenes are predominantly green, and then the restaurant scenes are predominantly red. I feel like the last 10 minutes actually feel like they combined all the colors.
Definitely.
I feel like there was that's interesting.
Yeah,
it also had all the characters in there.
Really? Not only all the characters. I just feel like it blended all the colors pretty well in that final 10 minutes.
That makes sense. Now that you mentioned that.
Yeah, everything just sort of culminates, and I really like that. Because I read a few reviews, and I guess people, I don't know if people noticed this or not. Cause I'm not saying that like I'm smarter, but like, I mean, I thought that more people would have seen that, unless I'm just crazy.
No, yeah, there's definitely like there's a focus on just minor colors with outfits or lighting. Even the lighting in here is just absolutely incredible. This like everything is so reflective and beautifully lit that it made me wonder like how they do all this. Greenaway is always obviously taking inspiration from like all forms of art. He even has the whole Renaissance painting on the on the wall and shit as a testament to how visual he is with film. Like he expresses that a medium like this should be, at least in his eyes, should be best told with visual storytelling. And even if the writing does get a little bit overbearing, which I understand, I found it to be pretty purposeful, since it is like at least for me, it's building up to this climax where you're absolutely frustrated and tired of just what's been going on. And it's just this huge feast. And at the end, you just want some sort of relief. And I got the payoff for that. And it was pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a very satisfying ending, getting Michael Gambon's like chest blown out.
Yeah.
Speaking about the ending though, I didn't tell anyone, but it was spoiled for me, but in a way that it shouldn't have been, because on the back of my Blu-ray, like on the blurb, the picture on the back of the Blu-ray is is Michael's body cooked on the fucking on the platter, and I was like, I know.
The movies.
Yeah, like Dawn of the Dead does it, and now this movie. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I was like, oh, when's this coming in? I was hoping to myself maybe it doesn't happen, and it was just like a visual representation of what the movie has to offer. But no. It happened, and then it was like when Georgina stated, "Can you cook him?" I was like,
well, Michael's not the one who gets cooked; it's the lover.
Yeah,
Is it Michael the lover?
Yeah,
he's called Michael.
Oh, he is. Oh my God! I'm sorry. I'm talking. Gambon.
No. Talk about Michael.
Oh my God!
Michael Gambon is Albert.
Albert. Yeah. I couldn't for the life of me remember his freaking name. I thought it was Alan. I'm sorry.
The ending has that awesome line delivery as well when he takes the bite initially, and then Helen Mirren says like, cannibal. That was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
That was a pretty.
Yeah.
I like that moment. Yeah.
It was amazing. It was like, oh
Again,
man.
it was all like it was a great like. It was just a great cap. It really ended the film nicely. If it went on for a few minutes longer, I probably would have been disappointed. But I'm glad that it just stopped right there, because it really is just a great way to end it. It doesn't try and do anything different. It's literally just, okay, he ate part of the guy, kill him.
Yeah, it didn't need to do
really
more because there was
that.
already so much building up.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
this. It's
exactly.
the perfect amount of like end cap, and even the music reflected like just the chaos in that scene. Throughout the movie, they play like the same classical piece, and it's like very simple and like very precise. And at the end, they play the same track but with even more instruments, and just like it's very blaring. And I was just like, this is insane. And I really love the music. It's just all very well used.
The build up to it is perfect. Like, I know you were saying there's some repetitive moments in there, but to me, it all built, I guess, perfectly to the ending, in my opinion. Like, I was bored at any moment.
I'm glad you guys got that. I'm glad you guys were able to weren't able to see that part as repetitive. There just came a point where it was seriously like 30 minutes for me, and I felt that it was just doing the same thing over and over again.
It
Again,
feels real though. Like,
I get it, but it's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. I don't say that. I don't think repetitivity is a bad thing in and of itself. It's just when it has to be building up to something else. Like, you need that repetition to build to something else, and I don't feel like it does up until the ending. So there was like a part of me that just kind of found that to just be a little bit disappointing. That's all.
I see.
I'm typically okay with like something being very repetitive if I'm given some really good eye candy, which I think this movie does.
Yeah,
no,
I
that's
felt
why
like
I
it
don't-
always
that's
added
why- that's
at
part of
least
why-
somewhat. You could take it as like it's just reinforcing the same idea with his character over and over again. I felt, at least for me, there was always something either new in the scenery or like with any new character. Like, it was always adding to some sort of character, whether it was like the kid who was singing all the time. I was like, where is that gonna go? And it, it's paid off at the end. You could take it as like people are getting frustrated and people are going through this over and over again, and in the end, chaos ensues. But yeah.
I guess if I look at it from that perspective, I can understand it a little more. It's just in a film, I feel like that there should be more than just that. And I do appreciate the eye candy of the film. There really is something else to digest there aside from writing and acting and all that. One thing I want to mention is that I do love the music, but that too is just another thing that I found to be kind of repetitive. Not in a bad way though. I think here it's actually warranted. I think especially with that theme where what was it you called Fish Beach?
Yeah, it's probably my favorite track.
I would say that is my favorite track as well. I really love that theme every time it came on. The one repetitive piece in the music that I kind of found to be annoying was the kid singing. I feel like they did it a couple too many times, because at that point I got it. I was like, okay, he's obviously going to come back later in the film. I don't need to hear him singing again. It's just way too high pitched, and it's just my ears. Like I'm very sensitive to high pitched noises like that for long periods of time. So it just came to a point where I actually muted the film whenever after the first couple times the kid was on screen. I couldn't, because my ears would genuinely get very agitated.
I get you. I was coming to that point too, but it came to a point where it's like they played it just enough before I got tired of it. Everything was done, at least for me, just enough.
Maybe I'm just an impatient bastard.
The singing was so
I
expressive. It was so expressive in the way he was doing it.
Yeah,
And I get it.
every time.
No, I get
but
the ear thing.
I get that, but it's the same thing. It's the same song. He sings the same thing. I would be with you. I would legit have no problem if he sang different like pieces of opera throughout the film, if he did like something new, but it's literally just the same piece. And I was just like, it just got like, it felt a little too repetitive for me in that sense. Because if it was a different piece, I would be able to get behind it. I seriously would. and that it was just the fact that it was the same piece that bothered me the most, even more than the high pitch. Because honestly, I could sit through the high pitch if it's a different piece, because I want to see how the kid handles it.
Yeah, but I also found it kind of rewarding whenever, after all the trauma he went through, he's still singing. And it was just like a perfect comedic moment for me. I was just like, yep.
Yeah, again, I liked how it was resolved. I like that he kind of got his character arc completed. I do like that. I think that this movie does do it in a way where I still feel rewarded enough to not feel as if it was a waste of time.
The kid's performance was so good, though. It was like
I like it.
He had so much emotion as well, and it's just quite rare, to be honest.
Honestly, I'm a little confused. Was that kid actually singing?
I don't think so. I think it was dubbed.
Yeah, because it's kind of noticeable. He's a little too expressive when.
Well,
he's
maybe
singing.
he was. No, yeah, I think it was a dub on the recording, but on the initial like visuals. But I reckon he actually did sing it.
Maybe
but,
he sang it like on set and they dubbed over it.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
you're not gonna like expect him like to sing it every time, and like it will go well through the microphone like every single time. Start a fucking opera song.
Yeah, that's what every musical is, though. They use dubbing in that way. It's not It's never.
I know that, but I know that, and that's actually kind of like I'm not even a huge fan of musicals.
I mean, one of the only musical movies that have done like live singing instead of dubbing was Les Mis, and look how that turned out.
Yeah, it also just fit with the tone of how exaggerated everything is. I was like, it fit perfectly for me, at least.
It helps with the operatic tone of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is again why I don't consider that a flaw. I'm able to accept it as just part of the film. Did you guys notice? I know that we talked about colors already, but did you guys notice that the place where Michael, the lover, stays is brown like his blazer? Did you guys notice that?
Yeah.
No.
Because we were talking about colors and how like they fit the costumes, but like I feel like we missed that. Because I was like, hey, his house is also brown, and then that was pretty cool. I like how there's detail even when they're not even in the restaurant.
Such a fucking like the shots with the van as well. The inside of the van. That's insane. With, like the huge fish and like
that was a lot of freaking meat. That was a lot of meat.
Yeah, and then when it went off and you could almost smell it. It was so like yeah, the visuals are so goddamn
you can like smell it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so I felt so responsive with that movie. I felt I could feel the emotion of almost every character.
There was a moment while the characters were eating where I kind of was reminded of Luca Guadagnino's Call Me By Your Name, but in a different way. In that movie, whenever they're eating, I'm like, oh my god, I want to eat that. That looks so delicious. But in this movie, the food looks fucking disgusting. Like, it just looks gross. Even though it's supposed to be like very nice food, but every single time food is on screen, it just looks disgusting, and I love that. I love how they made it look that way.
Yeah, it definitely felt like Greenaway was criticizing like the bourgeoisie.
Exactly.
Yeah,
makes you question what they're consuming.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
I just wanted nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then there's literal fucking cannibalism later in the film, and I don't want to consume that. So
exactly.
It all comes around full circle.
Unironically, the body of Michael looked more than any of the other food they were eating throughout the entire movie.
Not true. Tommy Hammer would have loved that shit, dude. Fuck.
I think he does love this movie. He's a major fan.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But I think that maybe that's why they probably tried to intentionally make the body of Michael look good. And they probably put a bit of care into that because of how disgusting it looked. Like even when Michael Gambon was like deliberately adding salt, water, wine it didn't even look much better. It literally just like it had a bit of water in it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Again, it just I love how it purposefully just doesn't look appealing. I hate the way that this movie like portrays everything like that the bourgeoisie are. I legit just find it repulsive. And I love that Greenaway went through that extra mile to make everything, even the food, just look just look gross.
It's also the fact that they eat at a really expensive restaurant every is incredibly.
Yeah, and I love the way that
critique.
as repetitive as Gambon got, I do love how he was like constantly shitting on his cronies, like Tim Roth. He's like, look at him there. You'd fuck a dead girl, wouldn't you? Like, it's so gross and disgusting, like evil stuff. It's just so
quite ironic.
It's so repulsive. He's like a terrible person.
Yeah, he's the most disgusting person, but he's also trying to correct people. He's also being like, "Hey, watch your manners and shit." Like, I just found
and then
out
he
to be
later
so
like he
ironic.
says, "Watch your manners. Don't speak like that in front of a lady."
Yeah.
Now allow me to quite literally sexually assault this woman in public, like, casually. It's just, he's such a hypocrite, which is why his comeuppance is even more entertaining.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they hide Michael and Georgina in the food truck, and it's like yellow, and there's like smoke everywhere. It was such a change of scenery because like they were both naked as well. They didn't really have to do much.
It reminded me of Sallow.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that too.
Why?
I don't know. It just, there was a moment where I was kind of like, man, this movie's really trying to it's another movie that's trying to commentate on a position of power, because in Sallow it was the fascists who were in power in World War II, and now in this movie it's the bourgeoisie who are technically in power in general. They're like, I think that both movies kind of tackle like revolutionizing against revolting against a position of power or something like that. I really found that both movies kind of did something similar, even though in terms of content I think they did it differently. This movie is a lot more subtle than Sallow, and that's saying a lot. I'm just going to say this now, that neither movies are subtle in any way, but I would say that this movie is more subtle than Sallow.
In terms of visuals, it also kind of reminded me. I have finished this movie, but Cries and Whispers, like the use of red in that movie, it's so similar to the use of color in The Cloak the Thief as well, because it's so rich. The red it's not just red, it's like a very dark tone of red, and everything has to be this exact tone of red. It's the same with everything.
I agree with what you're saying, Seth, about Cries and Whispers, how it's similar. I definitely noticed that, because Cries and Whispers, like you were saying, super like dark reds all over the wall, like all the wallpaper is basically that. Like, I definitely saw that connection, and for sure.
Yeah, it definitely felt like everything had to be exact shade. It felt like a perfectionist's movie.
Exactly.
But in a good way.
I wouldn't be surprised if he took like way too long just to choose the specific red.
Exactly.
I would agree. Yeah, I would say that he probably did that.
I wouldn't be surprised either if The Cook and the Thief was based, I guess, loosely a little bit on Cries and Whispers, I guess, just on the production design point. But I mean,
somewhat inspired, yeah, maybe.
Inspired,
even though I haven't seen Cries and Whispers, I have seen like pictures from that movie and that set design, and like, yeah, there's a lot of predominant red. And I could definitely see how one would come to that conclusion.
Yeah, for sure. Even some of the characters in Cries and Whispers, it definitely has Bergman's most like shitty characters in that film. I feel like,
exactly,
like the shittiest people. So I feel like it almost works with because of like, I mean, Gambon is kind of a shitty person.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
really? I thought Gambon was an incredibly pleasant and down to earth person. What are you talking about?
Oh, you're.
No, coming back to it, it is very Bergman inspired. Like you mentioned Autumn Sonata quite a while ago. Within the set, within the way the camera
direction.
Actually,
the camera in Autumn Sonata is actually, from what I remember, I don't remember it moving very much.
No, it's very still.
Mostly still, yeah.
But that's the same with Cook the Thief, though.
It's very similar.
True, but there are a lot more tracking shots in the Cook the Thief.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you're probably
One thing
right.
I will say about the tracking shots about the Cook the Thief, apparently there's like, I read on IMDb trivia that apparently like the tracking shot going from the restaurant to the bathroom is supposed to symbolize food traveling through the digestive tract. Like,
Jesus
okay,
Christ.
really?
I wouldn't be
I don't get
surprised.
that. Like, I mean, I get it. It's obvious, like that's what it would be communicating, but I don't know if that was intentional at all.
The attention to
Maybe it was.
detail, like Jesus.
That's technically what it is, but you could also say that any
Yeah.
movie in a with a tracking shot from a restaurant to a bathroom is trying to communicate that.
Yeah, but
Why
the
is this movie the
bathroom-
one being called out?
Yeah, but the corridor was awfully red, and the
Right,
dining and the
yeah,
bathroom
yeah.
was awfully white, like a stomach
True.
towards a toilet.
Yeah.
In that
That is
way,
true.
Huh.
so I wouldn't even be surprised, to be
It's a
honest.
stretch,
And-
though. It's a stretch.
I guess
but
I can.
see
All
it.
right. I guess I can.
Of
see
course
that.
it's a
But
stretch,
still,
but-
it was just kind of weird to see that one was like highlighted in IMDb trivia. It's like okay.
Well, I don't think
Alright.
it's a stretch. It's a testament to like
No,
how much
it's
of the colors
Greenaway,
they
dude.
used. Yeah, he was a painter. Obviously, these types of people are gonna include so much shit in their pictures. It reminded me of like how Hodorowski would like just fill the frame with like just random shit, like just so much shit in the frame, and it's quite
Yeah.
literally the feast of the film. But I took a lot from
Yeah,
that.
makes me so excited
Yeah.
to see his other movies. Like,
Yeah, I'm
Zed and
very
Two Noughts
interested.
looks so
Yeah.
fucking good. It's like from what I've seen about like cinematography wise,
Mm-hmm.
they're all very similar. They've all got like the same like, camera positioning where like everything's very
Right.
centered and like
So,
It
which
kinda-
movie
it
did
kinda
you say you're
feels-
interested in seeing? Which movie did you say? The Gentleman's Contract.
Zed and Two Noughts and the Joffman's Contract actually.
I
and
would
Pillow-
love to watch the
Pillow Book
Gentleman's
too.
Contract. That movie looks
Yeah.
looks pretty
It
good.
looks insane. Yeah, everything.
I
he's
love
made
I
looks-
love movies that are costumey in that regard. I kind of like
Yeah.
costumey movies that are like that. I mean, Barry Lyndon is my second favorite film of all time. So I mean, obviously it's
Yeah, it
I'm
feels
very
like
into-
Barry
but
Lyndon
that-
and the favorite.
He did remind me of the favorite. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a
Kinda,
little bit.
I'd say that too actually.
I'm really excited for the film Drowning by Numbers.
Oh
It's
yeah,
also
that looks
for
amazing.
Greenaway. That
Yeah,
one looks really amazing too. It's like a
I
black
can't really
comedy.
think of anything he's that doesn't look really good. I might start his filmography soon.
I think
Because-
people
Yeah.
have said this is his most accessible one, The Cook the Thief. So
Oh yeah, I bet because the other ones.
What?
Yeah, I
He's-
think the other ones tackle a lot more themes a lot more subtly and like lot more psychologically.
right.
'Cause-
Uh,
yeah, from what I've
he's
heard, like
expressed,
Zed and
like-
Two Noughts is incredibly like psychological.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, to give legitimacy to your inspired by cries and whispers theory, I remember I wrote down in my notes that he actually saw The Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman in theaters at 16, and that's how he decided he wanted to be a filmmaker.
Oh,
So
hell.
that brings legitimacy to your theory.
Makes sense, honestly.
I wanted to say one last thing,
Mhm.
just like something funny that I noticed while I was watching, just because Michael Gambon's voice is just so iconic. Just all of the things he was yelling in the movie,
Yeah.
it just reminded me of that one scene in Fantastic Mr. Fox where he was like, "What are you writing? You're just writing a bad song, Petey. You're a weak song." I thought about that like the whole time. He was-
I'm never gonna be able to rewatch this again without thinking about that. Hell yeah, I'm happy.
I'm gonna kill him and I'm gonna eat him.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
moment was pretty fucking like scary, honestly. There's
It
like
was.
one or two moments where Gambon is legitimately intimidating. The rest he's like a Shakespeare villain, but until then, but there's a point where he's like legitimately kind of intimidating.
Bro, there's so
No,
many
there is
points.
moments where he's kind of scary.
Yeah.
There's so many points, like when he's dragging them to the fucking car, both of them.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
Helen Mirren and the
Yeah, that was
kid,
one
and
of the
then he
moments.
Fucking, like, let me just
Even the opening scene, it's just like it
Yeah,
just
the
starts off
opening
with a
scene,
bang.
Jesus.
Like
Christ.
you're already
Like,
like
punches
who
her in the
fuck is
stomach
this
in the
guy?
middle of the
This guy's
kitchen.
Yeah, it gets to the point
You're
in the
hooked
best
onto
way.
him. Yeah.
scary. You're
Yeah.
really hooked instant. Yeah.
I haven't seen much
You're
from
really-
him,
you're-
but
you're-
I think this is the best performance from him that I've seen.
Definitely. Man's
I'm
just
gonna-
Dumbledore, bro. He
I mean, I
couldn't
might
fucking
just-
do
I
anything.
doubt
I might just
Dumbledore.
stick with Fantastic Mr. Fox
Is he in that?
as my favorite performance from Gambon. But at the same time, that's a voice performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Uh,
was in it. He was Mr. He was Mr.
How
Yeah,
Pop.
he
can
was-
you
he was
even
the main-
compare?
he
Like
was-
in the Cook the Fifth it's like one
Yeah.
of the greatest performances
Yeah.
ever.
I don't know. I mean, I find the performance in Fantastic Mr. Fox to be a fantastic performance. Funny, ha ha ha, pun intended. Anyway,
It's bass and red pilled for sure.
All right, let's start with Jacob and do the ratings. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. I mean, the reason I didn't rate it first is I don't know. Sometimes I just don't want to rate. Sometimes you just watch it and you're like, I don't know if I want to put a rating on it, but I'm definitely gonna give it a 9 because I love it. So
Let's
that's
go,
all.
Seth.
It is one of the biggest, most influential and ambitious movies not only of the 1980s, but of all time. It is so fucking good, and I can't wait to see it
For
again.
real, bro.
I'm gonna give it a fucking 10.
Sheesh.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree. It's very influential. It's very unique. Never seen anything like this. I don't think I'm gonna stop watching it. I loved it. 9 out of 10. Bob.
Okay, so I watched it first a few months ago. It was nice coming back to it, and I'm looking forward to coming back to it again. And I'm giving it a fucking 10.
Based.
It's too good.
I again appreciate this film so much. I see its importance. I think that it's a film that I will probably try and revisit again with your guys' perspective more. I'm gonna try and do that someday, and see if it gets better. Maybe it will, and who knows, maybe it'll get worse. But I doubt that. I think this movie's pretty great. I do understand where the hate comes from. I do understand why people might find this movie to be kind of fucking unbearable and really just like annoying. I get that some of it can be kind of overbearing, and that's I mean, I already went into detail. There isn't really much about it that I dislike aside from, I guess, maybe some moments of audio where there was like a couple moments of dubbing that weren't very well hidden. That's like a personal peeve. That's not really like a flaw. I don't know. I do love this film quite a bit. There's a lot about it that I would probably recommend this to a lot of film lovers. I would say that it could be an essential film. I didn't know whether to give this a light 8 or something else, but I think I'm just going to go with, for now, a solid 7 out of 10.
Cool.
Yeah.
Vinny?
All right. I initially gave it a 7 just because I was still processing the movie, but after like letting it sit with me and discussing it with you guys, I think I'm comfortable in bumping it up and giving it a decent to strong 8 out of 10. I'd say.
Nice.
Pretty.
By the way, one thing I do want to say is that I tend to find Michael Gambon's performance in Steve Zissou to be pretty overlooked. I like that movie a lot, and his performance in that movie. So
It's a great movie.
I have not seen that yet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Seen it in forever.
Bro,
Yeah,
it's so good.
I
Totally
would say it's
understand.
worth revisiting.
Other Wes Anderson movies, but I would need to rewatch.
Yeah, I think it's my least favorite Wes Anderson, but I still like it a lot.
Bro, huh?
I don't know. Well, I mean, maybe Royal Tenenbaums. I really don't know. I
Moonrise
need to go
Kingdom,
through
bro.
Moonrise Kingdom's good, Seth. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, shut up. Anyways.
Oh shit!
All right, that's it.
All right, before we leave, the next recommendation will be from Mr.
Hey.
Seth. Go ahead.
My recommendation is probably, I haven't seen every single movie from 2007, but it's probably the greatest movie of 2007. The 2007 masterpiece directed by Christian Monju. 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days.
Nice.
This one is
By the
bleak
way,
as fuck.
Oh, I've been meaning to watch this movie.
So tune in to the next episode, watch the movie to join in on the conversation. Thanks for watching, everybody, and goodbye.
Bye!
Goodbye.
Like,